right, we'll go ahead and call the Board of Zoning Appeals to order at 5 PM. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Goles,
Here.
Mr. Vucetich,
Here.
Mr. Andrus,
Here.
Mr. Reed,
Here.
Chairman Rowe.
Here. All right, so this is our organizational meeting for 2023. So can I get a motion for chairman?
I move to nominate Mike Rowe.
I will second it.
Roll call.
Mr. Goles,
Yes.
Mr. Vucetich,
Yes.
Mr. Andrus,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Chairman Rowe.
I guess.
I don't think
Yes.
You don't get to vote.
By default.
Doesn't matter anyhow. They all voted him.
All right, so you should have received in your packets proposed meeting schedule. So I get an adoption of the meeting schedule for 2023.
I'll make a motion to adopt schedule as submitted.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Andrus,
Yes.
Mr. Goles,
Yes.
Ms. Vucetich,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Chairman Rowe.
Yes. And final, we got approval of the January 25th, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Vucetich,
Yes.
Mr. Andrus,
Yes.
Mr. Goles,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Chairman Rowe.
Yes. All right, so with that, we'll get started with our meeting. So when I call the waiver request up, just make sure that you're signed in at the podium. State your name, give us your address and a little background on the variance request you have. And after that, we'll reach out for anybody here to speak for or against the matter. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. We got our first waivers, W1697-23, waiver of ordinance 069-2020, section 1155.01A, relating to accessory buildings. Location is 2068 Ashcroft Drive. The applicant owner is Rebecca Cohn.
Good evening. Paul Mullen speaking for Rebecca and Jim Cohn. We're asking for relief of the zoning portion to build the accessory building behind the house. We would ask that we be allowed to build it next to the house, as the way the lots are set up there does not give us any area behind the house to build the accessory building. The building is approximately 40 by 70. At a peak height of 22 feet, the majority of the height is about 20 feet. It should encompass on the side of the house out to the lake. Should really not cause any issues that we can foresee.
Chairman,
Go ahead.
in addition to this, as you can see, there were three separate lots. They would be combined, okay? And the reason they have to be combined, because you can't have an accessory building without a main structure. So that's why they're combined. And with doing that, the garage can only be, if they want a garage, there's only room for it on the side. So that's why we're here tonight.
All right, so first of all, I guess, so the Ashcroft Drive, so that's the way I went in today when I went there. Is this house showing backwards, 180 degrees on the site plan? Go back to site plan. So is that thing mirrored 180 degrees? Should it really be flip-flopped? So when you look up off of that Ashcroft Drive,
That's exactly the way it says.
What you thought was a driveway is actually part of the road when it turns.
yeah,
When you turn and go west,
yep.
that's actually the road still.
It's right away.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm not sure, I don't think it is improved, but it's improved with the driveway.
I got
Is
you.
that fair?
All right.
What about the additional lot that is to the east? That's on the dike, actually, it looks like. What is that lot?
I don't know what that lot is. And is that in the same ownership, Paul? Do you know?
Where the cursor.
Where it's in
is-
the water?
No, that is not in the same ownership.
And I own that.
Okay.
Okay.
So I come down that drive. The first thing I see is a huge garage. Is that what I'm looking at when I go to the end of that driveway? Was it 40 by 70? All right.
So when you turn west at the dead end where the picket fence is and head in, that's not really an access to the house that sits on Grange itself. It appears, it almost felt like it was heading towards the back of that house. That's just kind of a gravel drive, where the red line is basically where the paper street or non-finished street is. It's a,
Yeah. And I want to point out to the board that, and I don't know about that. You'll have to ask him. Okay. Paul.
What's that?
He asked about the picket fence and
yeah, I mean, when you get back in there, you gotta back out, kind of, if you drive down there, aren't aware of
If you
whose
drive
property.
inside the picket fence,
Yeah, to what would be to the south, I guess. There's a little spot, looks like you could maybe turn around, but with my big truck, I couldn't.
if you go
drive.
past the picket fence, you're in the Mr. and Mrs. Cohn's property.
So then the other lot on the on the opposite side there that looks vacant, do you know who owns that lot? Okay. I mean,
Chairman.
it doesn't appear there's a house on that lot, but is that combined with the?
Well,
Okay. All right.
Chairman?
Yeah.
I just want to point out, there's a number of vacant lots in this area, as you can see. They're all considered buildable lots, you know, so I just want you to be aware of that. So these lots could be built on individually.
Correct.
Just wanted to point that
Even the lot that's extending out into the water, that could be filled and built on?
out. Well, that's a good
Yeah.
question. I don't know that answer.
Maybe not.
Okay.
It is buildable. A greater percentage of that is on land.
Hold
So
on.
it would have to be-
Before you speak, just, you'll have to step up to the podium. Make sure
Yeah,
you're
but-
signed in.
Well, somebody standing there. like that would do that.
I'm sure the gentleman at the podium would step aside so you could step up to the podium. Make sure you're signed in, state your name. I haven't got to that point yet, but if you're answering a question that the board asked, then I guess we will let you respond to the board question.
Corps of engineers have like to fill it in.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to penetrate the dike either.
So do you want me to re-ask the question? I will.
Yes,
So,
please.
so is that lot to the east, is that a buildable lot even though it's partially in water?
Yes, it is. And the state of Ohio allows a person to lease that part of, which is in the water, from them. You know, they've, about 10 years ago, declared all property that has Ohio water over it, they declared it as theirs.
So I would imagine at the time when they plotted this out, that could have possibly.
Excuse me?
At the time when this was plotted, this subdivision, many years ago, that was probably land.
All of it was land, including
Yeah.
where the
Where the inlet is.
docks are and stuff there. That was all land there. It's all part of the beach for the subdivision.
Okay.
That break wall there was put in about 10 or 20 years ago. In Oregon, it's maintained a rickrack along Ashcroft there to keep the water from going back in the subdivision.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just,
You're
so, I just want to make another point. Originally, because they had right away in front, on the side of their house too, I was considering it maybe to be in back of the house, but I thought it would, you know, it was such an odd lot. I thought it would be, you know, I thought it would be a good idea to bring it to the board. But you see it has frontage along the unimproved street.
Yeah.
Along the side there.
It's really hard to tell exactly what is the front of the house from the lot shape and the way it sits there,
Right.
because there's really no,
Well, in Paul, well, this was something that I brought up at the very end, and I decided that it would be prudent to bring it to you guys, only because originally I was thinking that that would be his frontage and he would be in back of the house at that point.
so with the shape of the extra lots with the undeveloped road, looking at that, would you think that the south side of that house would actually technically be the front of the house? In theory? You know what
I
I'm
have
saying?
to say,
Because there's a joint.
I have to say this, if it was an improved street, the owner has the ability to pick what he wants at his front yard, and the opposite of that would be his rear yard, okay? But since this is an unimproved street, you know, it made it questionable.
But even if the street was improved and there was somebody else that built on that lot to the east of him, then his house would really technically have to face the improved road.
Right.
Yeah, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Will there be a time when we get to speak for or against it?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're not quite to that point.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions from the board?
My name's John Bartow.
Hold
I live-
on, a little premature. Give me a second. Let me get through the board questions first. Any other questions from the board? Jim, you're good.
I'm good. I think I
All
gave you
right.
all the information.
Anybody else here speak for or against? Same thing, make sure you're signed in at the podium, state your name, address, and then go ahead and feel free to offer your comments.
My name's John Bartow. I live 2060 Grange Street, which is parcel right next to it is also 2090 Ashcroft. I believe it is. I don't know what the back address is. But that's my partial lot on the back. And why does it have to be so tall? For a building that he's not even there for but 1 week out of the year. And I get to look at it for the remaining 365 days of the year. He sees it for one week. I don't think that's very fair.
So the empty lot that I was talking about earlier, that's your lot?
Yes.
Where the brown roofed house is and then the empty lot to the north, that's yours?
Yeah, that's my lot.
Okay.
Right next to it.
That borders the paper street or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, where Ashcroft comes up to, where the bushes, you guys come around the bushes, you gotta pull into his driveway. Those are my bushes there.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Brandy. I also live at 2060 Green Street. We actually bought our house on Oregon in the Bay because of the view. We walk out our house every day to the lake. We drink coffee out there. We can see the minks run, the eagles, the lighthouse. If he builds this, it blocks our airflow. We will have no air. That thing is huge. There will be no air coming into my backyard over a shed or a barn that he is never going to have to look at. And I have to look at it and see it and deal with it. They're not, and yeah, they pay someone to keep the house up. They don't do it. It's 4 foot tall. I'm nice. I don't call the city, but I can. Instead, I text him and say, yo, no one's mowing your grass. So now we're going to build a 70 by 40, 20 foot tall barn that's only going to start machinery that doesn't even affect the house they're living at. And it sucks. I would have bought the house. I spend my money every day there in Oregon to support our community. And now this is what I have. And I would consider selling my house because why live somewhere that I have to look at the back of a barn and smolder in July because I get no airflow for a barn that the gentleman that lives there isn't even going to use besides for his business. I think it's the raw end of the deal as a resident here in Oregon.
Thank you. Anybody else here to speak for or against the matter?
I've already signed in. My name
Yep.
is James Brown, and I have several issues about this, not the least of which the owner, as I see it in the record, is living in Florida, or that's where their mailing address is. The first is that the only drawing that you have is that little rectangle? You don't have a east and west views?
So right now, we're here strictly for zoning.
I
So-
understand,
so
but how it looks and stuff bears on the zoning.
Not necessarily. We're not here for that, the aesthetics of the building.
No, I'm
So-
not talking about the aesthetic, it's just how it sets on the property. You know, how as we as neighbors look at this
Correct.
device. Number two, I am curious about what is the height that the owners are proposing?
The height to the peak is approximately 22 feet. The average meaning of the garage is what we use, and that is 20.
So what I see happening, because I've been here for my other neighbors and stuff like that, not at this location, but what is the actual peak of the highest peak of the house itself? It's nowhere near 20 feet. The
Well,
house itself that's sitting on the property presently, what is the peak? It looks like it might be 15 feet, 12 feet.
I don't know that.
Well, that's the problem, because if they're approving the zoning for this, we'll be back here again
So-
because a person will be asking for a zoning exemption
Well,
outside of the,
I-
right, outside of the fact that he's over
And-
10%, that you're allowed to be over the peak of the
Well-
existing structure.
Well, James, you're remembering correctly, but the zoning code has been changed. The height of the house doesn't come into play anymore. So the height of an accessory building has been limited to 20 feet to the mean of the new structure.
Okay, and this is 22.
No, the total height is 22 to the peak. The mean height is 20.
Oh, so you're trying to take the triangle of the roof then and pick partway down the triangle and say,
What-
well,
what-
let's just say
what-
that's the mean.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
not just say it, that's in the codified ordinance, how you measure. And you measure from the eaves to the peak,
Right.
halfway through, and then from the ground to that
I'm
halfway
an
point.
engineer, so I understand all about triangles, where the mean.
Okay,
is
okay,
supposed to
okay,
be,
great.
Not by your definition of the mean,
Well,
by what the real mean
oh,
is mathematically.
okay. And that may be true, but the code is specific on how to measure it, okay?
So the next thing is, what did the owner say their intended use for this residential outbuilding is going to be?
Well, and you're asking, is it going to be accessory to the main use? So is it gonna be used for something else other than for the home? And the zoning code is specific that says it has to be accessory to the main structure.
Okay, but what did the applicant say that they're going to use that for?
Well, the application, we don't ever ask specifically what he's gonna put in there, but it's always going to state that it shall be used as accessory to the main structure. So if he owns the property and he puts a boat in there, that's appropriate. A car is appropriate. If he owns a tractor, that's appropriate. You know, those are all appropriate.
Is it appropriate for that person to lease or rent out that property for somebody's really big boat?
No,
Okay, and we'll never see any commercial fishing or anything other than, what is it, R1 is the resident, is what it's called. What is code? I mean, is it,
I believe it's R2.
okay, which is strictly residential?
Right.
So it cannot, that garage cannot be used for anything other than supporting the residential use of that property.
Right. Now, there's a little caveat to that. If he applies for home occupation, he's allowed to use that in a limited way.
Being-
Limited way for his home occupation. Okay?
Which could be commercial fishing, sport fishing, any of that kind of.
Well, it's, you know, he has to apply for it and he has to meet certain criteria.
So would that come back before us again to talk about?
It would if he doesn't meet those qualifications. Okay, so it's low impact to the neighboring residential properties.
Really?
But well,
It's
because
not low impact
no,
to me,
no.
because I can't see anything from us.
I think you're getting ahead of yourself. What I'm
Okay.
trying to tell you is, I'm telling you everything that's in the code so you understand,
Yeah, I
okay?
appreciate that.
So there is an exception to that rule, which is home occupation. I don't believe this gentleman's gonna use it for that, but I just wanted to point it out to you, that's all.
Hold on, whoop, 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 whoop.
You can have your space right after me. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay,
So, but in general, it's used, you know, it's used for, home occupation is somebody, for instance, that does architectural work in his home and has one employee. That's what home occupation. I didn't mean to suggest that he's doing this. I'm just giving you what is allowed.
so the person could, with that size of building, have dump trucks, front end loaders, all kinds of.
That would not be allowed in a residential district unless he's using it for his own use on the property.
But, so you couldn't use whatever he stores in there off-site then?
Well, if he owns it, for instance, we all have lawnmowers that we use somewhere else, okay?
Right, I'm talking about if he puts a front end loader or a dump truck in there.
Well,
I mean, this is a huge building that you're wanting to board. This is not a normal residential garage that we're all familiar with who own regular city lots.
Well-
40 by 70
right.
is a
And,
barn. Let's not make any mistake. Oh,
Right.
it's a barn.
We-
that
we-
this person's putting up.
and I don't want, I'm just trying to give you all the information.
I
We
appreciate
have,
that.
we have approved some of these in this area that might be about that size, one of them. But we have done it in the past. People by the lake have a lot of toys and they store them. But again, it's accessory to the main use is really the gist of the whole thing.
Okay. How far down did the notice of this, of what the gentleman's doing? Could you put the other map back up? There, that one. How far down? I mean, I'm an adjoining landowner, so I know I would get notice, and so several of the other people adjoining. Did it go all the way down to Bay Shore Road?
I can tell you it went in a 300-foot radius.
That's not very far.
Well-
I would bet that if the rest of the owners, the bins and all that, all the other people that I know that live there were aware of that this guy was gonna put this 22-foot high barn there, they would all pass the place. And I'm sure that we're going to make sure of bringing this to council, get permission from Mr. Zale, and we could take this to council, right? Because we can get whatever decision here overturned by council, right? All your action here is subject to council's approval, correct?
You want me to answer that?
Keep going.
Okay.
You're doing a good job.
You think? It doesn't feel like I am. If you disagree with this board's decision,
Right.
your option is common pleas court, okay?
You say now that the appeals board doesn't answer anymore to the city council like it used to?
It never did.
Really?
No,
I've had stuff do that route.
it's
Not zoning.
written in the code that your next appeal would be at common police court.
I think you're confusing the Board of Zoning Appeals with the Plan Commission. Plan Commission, you could have overturned at council.
But we still could get on Mr. Zale's agenda and express our displeasure with what is going on here if you guys indeed pass it, right?
You're free to use all
But my
avenues.
question is a simple yes or no. I can do that, right? I can go and get on Mr. Zale's thing because I can say that I talked to you guys here and that would allow any of us here to go to council and object, to this spot, appeals thing here.
Well, again, the appeals process would be through common police court, but you're always welcome to voice your opinion to the city council.
Right, as long as we get on the agenda and talk to you guys, as I understand it.
Well, I think
Mr. Zale says we have to go through the proper city authorities first. So that's why I wanted to make sure that I recorded here.
Yeah,
And having talked to you about it.
Yeah.
Because then when all of us, 100 or whatever,
Well-
will come to council and object to the order.
Right. Well, this is all recorded and we also have minutes and it'll be documented.
So I'm curious, since you're the person, why 22 feet high?
That is.
Oh, you gotta step back up to the podium, speak into the.
Like anything else, Mr. Brown, this is exactly the building that they would like to build. This is the height they would like to have. I understand that you own the property just to the east that encompasses the lake, and I'm sure you use that property. I know your address is somewhere in downtown Oregon. So that's not, the size of the building is up to Mr. and Mrs. Cole. I'm simply here as their representative. This is the size that they asked the architect to draw, and this is what they would like to have.
I've been to, about a year or two ago, to some of these, and at every one, the person will come in and go by a real height structure, and we find out they really don't need that height structure. So perhaps one thing that could make it friendlier is if the architect lowered it down, because what is going to be the height of the door? I assume that there are going to be garage doors into this, and how high are those? So you're saying that you need,
By the time you get the trusses.
I'm familiar with that, right? And you don't really need that for that span to be structurally sound. Drop down some additional feet on there. So that's one of my problems. And you've already talked about that you're not needing to declare, if you're going to do welding and all kinds of other stuff in that, and the code is since changed. So I just really believe, having met the code, having met this code on the property several years ago, I'm finding it hard to believe that they on themselves decided that they wanted this. I have to believe that they are being prodded by somebody that has some intended use for that other than them. Because they're a very friendly couple, and they would not want to upset all these neighbors and my neighbors. They were very friendly to me. Yeah, they said, I could come over there anytime, and I don't believe that it's really the intention of the code to annoy all their neighbors and totally cut off the view from all our front yards here. All the people that will be building where there's some space here, they're losing that front view there. Would you like to have your view of the lake cut off suddenly by a 22-foot structure there? Most of us live in subdivisions or houses now which have a frontage spot on it. Right? What do you call that? Where all the fronts of the houses are basically in alignment.
Front yard setback.
Yeah, right. And you're not allowed to build anything over 4 foot high. Also, so what you're really asking here is for the group here to approve of putting a barn in the front yard. I have to ask you, I know where you live, would you like a barn in the front yard so you can't look up and down ground? You know, I certainly wouldn't want a barn to be built next door to me, so I can't look up and down South Berlin or where you guys are. You can't look, you've taken away the reason we built there.
Wait,
So I
Thank
have
you.
to think that for all the different legal reasons, there has to be a consciousness reason of, do you really want to take everybody's view of the front yard? I realize legally you have to, say, well, if you want that view, you have to buy that piece of property. Well, the Cohens have been very good. They've just kept that property. Now they merged it together. I didn't know why they really merged it together. Now I see why. But the question ended up being, is this going to have another legal fight? Are we going to end up drawing the city of Oregon and, Melissa and everybody into a lawsuit that we are going to have to fund because the board lacked the will to protect the people that it signed up to protect?
All right.
That's the
I think we're good.
surrounding landowners, along with, the property, the cones now. And I just say, you need to, Russell, think about it yourself. Once again, take each of the houses that you live at and think about if your neighbor, and we're talking here, next door neighbor, built a 22-foot high, 40 by 70 structure in their front yard. You look out to the right or left, depending on where they put it, and you're gonna see this 22-foot high, 40 by 70 structure.
okay, thank you for your comments.
Excuse me?
Thank you for your comments.
Oh, and thank you for cutting me off politely.
Anybody else here to speak for or against the matter?
I also wanted to bring, I've lived next door to the Cones for about almost 4 years. And when they come up, they do nothing recreational. Like literally, they don't enjoy the water. They do bring dump trucks full of cement and stone. They do bring their jacks and pallet jacks and set it on the property for 2 weeks. So what are they actually going to store in a barn for household use for an 80-year-old man that doesn't ever live there? I just want you to take in consideration. We keep saying it's household, but the house is empty. The garage holds one truck and a lawnmower. How do I know I live there? I've talked to him. I've come over to him. That house is empty. So we're blocking the lake with all the wonderful wildlife and all the beautiful air for somebody that is going to lie to you. They break their codes all the time. I have proof of it. I live next door. And I know that's what we're not here for, but if you truly think these people are going to store residential things in there and they don't live here and they are of upper age, and I don't mean that they don't, but let's be honest, an 80-year-old man's not getting on a jet ski anytime soon or doing watercraft items. He's just not. Right, he brings backhoes and front hold loaders. He's dumping building materials out on the dike. I mean, he burns garbage and says, I got a building permit or a burning permit. We'll have a burning permit, but you can't burn garbage. He sprays weed killer all along the lake. He does not care. So to think this man has a conscience about blocking my view and what happens to me in my house, he doesn't. So I'm just asking to take into consideration that he's not going to store personal items in there. This is going to be big machinery driving down a tiny road where my family, my nieces and nephews, my dogs, where my family plays, and he doesn't. My family's at danger. Can they be seen over a semi? No. I already have to rally when they come down the street because he can't see it and he drives in that driveway. Yeah, you guys see it as just a whatever. That is my driveway. Grange Street is a dead end, very crowded street. And it's very hard to park up there. So we paid the money to have that driveway put in because it is a dead end area. And it's just safer for my family that way. Yeah, $2,000 driveway. It's not like we did it cheap. And that house sat empty for years. So when we bought that house, we put thousands of dollars to bring it back instead of letting it dilapidate like every other house on Grange Street. I mean, there's what, 5 of them? So, I mean, we did all of this. And now a gentleman that lives halfway across the country that is not as friendly maybe as everyone else thinks he is. Because being his neighbor, he's quite a jerk. So I'm just asking you to please consider what we have to go through.
Thank you. Anybody else here to speak for or against the matter?
I have another question for Mr. Gilmore, just for the record. So, those lots are buildable lots, correct?
Yes.
So if he sold them individually, someone could build one
Right.
house
Now,
on
mind
them,
you,
or?
you have to meet the current setbacks, the side yard and
Right.
rear yard and front yard setbacks.
But you could, the two lots that are there, you could buy those two lots and build a house of significant size on those two lots, correct?
Right. You
Okay.
also could just combine the two lots and create a larger lot.
And what is the permittable height for a home in that?
2.5
zoning?
stories,
Okay, so we're talking
30 feet.
30 feet
Yes.
and that's to the top of the wall, right? Then you have your roof. So
Well,
you could be in excess of 30 feet to the median roof point.
if you want, I can grab that.
No, I want to make a point
Approximate,
because,
I think the code says in an R2 zone, you can go 2.5 stories.
okay, so we're talking far greater than 20 feet at least.
Well,
right?
that's correct.
Right,
right.
okay, so because there was a lot of comments made about blocking the view, someone could build a house there, which would be even bigger and taller than that.
But it won't be as wide.
It would be.
It could be.
70 feet wide
It-
a house,
If you combine those two lots, you could.
but it would go all the way up like that. You're
It-
saying that barn's bigger than the house that's there.
You could build a home that is that big there. Yep. Mm-hmm.
They are combined now.
I just wanted to make a point that you could build a home that large, larger, taller, and block the
And
view.
I would still be here because they don't live here. It's not affecting them. Why are they? If they were living here, I wouldn't have a word about it because they walk out their door every day and see the big old barn. But they live all the way on the other side of the country. It doesn't affect them if they want to build a house, but I'd be here then too. Because they're gonna run out of house and bring in unnecessary traffic and they're not here to deal with it.
The barn's gonna bring animals, rats,
right.
raccoons, all that. I get to deal with that?
I just wanted to make the point that, you guys all talked about your view being blocked, that it could be blocked in a number of ways. Because someone could build a house there and it would be even taller.
And what was
without
saving
asking.
it, though, I'm just letting
But-
that point, you'd still be here.
No, you.
Well, we
no, you-
wouldn't be
you
here. They
wouldn't.
could build a house without coming here.
Correct.
By the way, I believe, Mr. Gilmore, you need to address the fact that the property owner here did already apply and had the lots combined.
Yes.
as one.
That is absolutely true. We required that. Okay.
Right, so it's not if they
Yeah,
combine.
but,
they already are.
but the recorder's office will let you undivide those back to the original too.
Or they could tear the existing house down and put
Right.
one big house across all three lots
Mhm.
and not be here. And it would be taller than what they're asking for. Correct. I know, you're talking about your view being blocked. I'm telling you, it could be blocked.
That's not what they're asking. If that's what it is, then we would be here. But we're
Right.
asking for a barn that he wants to store residential items in that what is he using it for? He's gonna use it for his business. I can promise you that. And you said he's not allowed. So when he does, what do I do? Who do I call? And what are you guys gonna do about it when I prove he's using it for his business and not personal residential use?
Comes back to building and zoning department.
That's right. Yes, it comes back as a complaint and we act on complaints. And if there's a zoning violation, we would send a zoning violation letter.
And that's it. So
No,
this is the way
no,
you have in a building,
no,
You just keep dumping letters with a
no.
stamp on a cat.
Then if they don't comply, we take them to court.
And I still have to look at a barn and they don't care because they have money. Right there it is, thank you. It doesn't matter, because he has money, so he can do what he wants, you guys will smack him on his hand, look at him, he just said it. And he'll pay the fee and I will have to still deal with the dump trucks and all the other crap of building material. And he don't, he just admitted it. Well, yeah.
Oh, he didn't admit that.
That's what he said. He
No,
said,
Listen,
"I'm
no,
going to
what
do
it
No,
is
you
is
misunderstood.
I don't know these owners at all. Never met them in my life, right? But I can't say, is it fair? Is it fair for me to give you a ticket right now because I know you're gonna speed on the way home? That's not, you know what I'm saying? You're suggesting he's gonna do something that we don't know he may or may not do.
But when he does.
When he does, Mr. Gilmore explained
he's
the
gonna give him a
process.
ticket. And then he's gonna
Yes.
keep doing it and pay it with his money and we suffer. As your residents here in Oregon.
If he's
that's somebody that
truly,
lives in-
if he's truly operating a business out of there and he gets cited and
He's
refuses
not
to
operating
stop
a business, it's
operating.
storing his business material. There's a difference.
All right, we're beyond that point. So is there anybody else here to speak for or against the matter?
No, he wouldn't. The dude gets money, he'll do it.
With that, I would entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the application. And before we vote, I'd just like to say, I listened to all of your complaints. All your complaints have to do with you being blocked and him using it for something that you think he's not gonna use it for. The gentlemen, whoever they are, you all have personal property rights. You're allowed to do what you want on your property. He has the right to build a barn of whatever size he wants on that property. The reason that they're here at the board is because it's a unique lot. This is a unique area, which a lot of Oregon is, because the lots are not set up like a traditional lot in a subdivision where you have a traditional front yard and a traditional side yard and a rear yard. These are different shaped lots because of the way that they were built when they were built in its lake frontage. So this is a unique situation which forces them to come to the board for approval.
All right.
I don't know the guy.
I think
I
there's
don't
a
know if he has
motion-
money or not,
All
and
right.
it doesn't matter to me.
Can I make one point to you?
Dave,
Does
I
it
think-
strike you interesting
oh,
that the
excuse
person
me.
is unable to build?
Okay, there's a motion on the table. We've closed that part. We've closed it. There's a motion on the table. Let's move
I'm
on.
requesting
No.
just,
That-
why
that-
no?
That part has already been closed out. I asked if there was anybody else here to speak for or against the matter. It was done.
But you cut me
There's
off
a
and-
motion
While I
on the
was
table.
talking,
There's a motion on the table.
but you cut me off while I was talking.
Please sit down. It's,
No, I just want to address.
okay,
one
I
issue.
gave you an opportunity to speak for or against the matter. A second time, you did not stand up and speak. There's a motion on the table. We're moving on.
You removed me from here.
Please sit
You
down.
told me to-
Sir, please sit down.
Just remember, sir, that there's a reason why they're having.
All right, there is a
Because
motion.
they were unable to build their barn within the existing regulations that are out there. They're having to come to you for an exemption from it. That's all I'm going to say.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call.
Mr. Golis,
Yes.
Mr. Futsich,
No.
Mr. Andrus,
No.
Mr. Reed,
No.
Chairman Rowe.
No. All right, with that, we will adjourn the meeting at 5:42 PM.
I want to thank all you gentlemen.
Yeah, it was.